What's your name and what's your game?
Hey there, this is Brian Kwek, representing Masquerada, Songs and Shadows. It's a tactical RPG inspired by Dragon Age, Baldur's Gate, Transistor. So basically a lot of possible real-time combat and deep storytelling.
Where did this game start from?
Creative director Ian used to run this Dungeons and Dragons campaign like when he was a lot younger, and it was like had the basic principles. The campaign was dealing with a Venetian-inspired city where masks gave you the power to cast magic. So we sort of started from there, and we wanted to bring this more of the city and the world to life with this new game we were working on. And also, the pedigree of the team, Witching Hour Studios, it's in a lot of turn-based and possible, in this case, possible real-time combat where you want players to think about tactics and basically chaining stuff together to find the fun and thoughtful mechanics.
Cool. So have you guys played that? Have you played that campaign with him?
I did.
After the fact, after you started the game, or before?
No, way before. This was this was at least 3 or 4 years ago.
So have you guys all the whole development team playing D&D together? Or?
Only so Ian was the DM. I was one of the characters who came on in a later version of the campaign. But he's been using this setting since I think. I want to say multiple times in the last 10 years.
Oh, okay, wow. And what was your character's name?
Oh, man. That's a throwback. I think it was... crap. It wasn't Cicero. Cicero is the name of our protagonist now. I think it was Lucia. I think I was playing a female character at the time. But it was quite a while back. There's a funny story here. I actually stopped playing D&D in that campaign because the party I was with were more interested in messing up things in the city than progressing the story. But it was a very rich setting, to be sure, and lots of. Even in these campaign setting back then, there was a lot of politics with the multiple guilds clamoring for power within a city that had no religion, and everyone was basically was fighting over these masks of power because they needed some leverage to have a legacy within the city.
Cool. Have you been looking to other Dungeon or tabletop Dungeons and Dragons games for inspiration now that you've kind of founded the setting off of one of the developers DM?
Well, I mean, tabletop games. Interestingly, lately we've been playing a lot more story-driven tabletop stuff. So one of the things that for Masquerada itself, it's more because it's real-time combat. We refer to more. Transistor is a very, very strong influence in terms of getting people to play with mechanics with different spells and how they interact. But for board games itself, because we like storytelling, and there's a game called Time Stories, which is kind of like a D&D light, where the board game itself is like the DM, but you're going through. This campaign this board game can only be played once by the people who participate, and you experience a story through a set of cards that as you unfold them, it's you went to this location and there's a trap, or there's a merchant who can sell you stuff, give you clues to where you need to find your targets. You're basically the setting is that you're time cops exploring different slices of time. So you could be in 17th century Rome, or you could be in 21st century zombie apocalypse, and you're trying to fix what's something that went wrong in each time zone, basically. So each story is very different.
Okay, so is that kind of modular story?
Yes.
Was that something you went for from the start as if we're making a game and we might need to cut things and we might we don't know how long development's going to take and who knows how the money goes and all that. Is that was that a strategic thing that from a development side that influenced more, or was that just like naturally what the story was going to be, and then it was like, well, now we got to make a video game based on that because look at it, like it's planned wise like fairly safe. I mean, nothing's safe, but like it's a safer storying idea than like, oh, I have this like exact 30-hour story that I want to tell, and we're just gonna have to do it. Like that's much more daunting.
So you know, I think the D&D campaign served to sort of create the essence of the world building. So that was like a backbone for the actual narrative that we wanted to share with everyone. And in terms of story beats, the narrative itself isn't so modular, but we did because we brought on. So we created the world was created, and then the writer went to work on the storyline. And okay, we've got a social divide and a conflict between the haves and the have-nots. So we want to make sure there's a human element beyond all the politics. So with that, like each of the 5 main characters in the game, we had to pick and choose. Okay, like that's kind of like where I guess in a way where the modularity, the experience of modularity helped, because we were like, okay, in case we run out of time, we've got to drop we might have to reduce the focus on this character a little bit, but we got to absolutely cover these beats,
And story-based games are always hard to demo. It's not a local 4-player multiplayer game that is a blast to demo. So what were your thought process, and how'd you arrive at what your demo ended up being, and like story-wise, like how'd you kind of get there, and what kind of changes did you make to the game for demoing it at shows like E3?
That's a great question, because we've been demoing Masquerada since PAX East 2015 last year, and the very first time we demoed the game, it was sort of like we wanted to present the game in a way as people who had, like, if you had gotten comfortable with the game, then like, okay, like, we want you to play with this whole box set of toys, right? But people were too overwhelmed. I think that was the number one lesson we learned over time. So then we started looking for. So we started like, okay, instead of handling 3 characters at once, you do 2 characters, and we reduce the number of skills that each character has to play around with, so that you don't get overwhelmed. And then we started. We also tweaked the enemy difficulty, because within the studio, everyone's like, 5 enemies easy as pie, but people would wipe within the first 70 seconds, and it was very painful to watch. And when you're at PAX, you're like, I want to change it, but even if we because we're based in Singapore, time zones and all that, even if we call a programmer, hey guys, help us out, and remove a couple of enemies, and this that can take by the time you can actually effectively do that, the show is over. So that's frustrating. So over time, we PAX East, PAX Prime, we finally
locked down the build.
Yeah.
Locked down the build early and tested a lot, because you don't have the iteration.
Yeah, but
freedom.
There's also a conflict where people are like, hey, I played this level at the previous show. Have you got something new to show? And we're like, well, yeah, we're gonna try, but it's always a mad rush for the team.
But it's a good thing that you have people coming back asking that question,
that
right? Because that means you're connecting with people.
Absolutely. So I mean, so far, most people who can get past the initial frustration, any inherent frustrations with the build, they really like what they have to see, what they get to see in terms of experiencing the narrative and the world. But these are teething problems I think every indie developer encounters.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the Question Bus.
My pleasure, and thanks so much, Keir.
And is there anything else you want to plug?
Well, Masquerada comes out on Steam in mid-August, and we PS4 at the end of the year. We're really hoping that if you dig great storytelling and want to support indie development from Singapore, come check it out.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.